I think we're live. Hello, everybody. Hi, Heather. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you very much. Yes, enjoying this fine evening, not being frozen in my little house.
Oh, has it been chilly in your house?
It got a bit brisk, yes. It got a bit brisk. Even the cat looked like he wanted a jacket on. Yes, it was a bit much.
It's been quite chilly here, actually, in the short amount of time I've actually been in. But nice hot baths and early bed. Obviously, it's not been too much of a problem. So yeah. So yeah, but there's been a lot of I've been outside a lot this week with work, and got absolutely frozen. So I had literally had 3 pairs of trousers on, 2 pairs of socks, toe warmers, hand warmers, gloves, 4 t-shirts, regular, all my regular clothes that I had to wear too. Oh God. The Witchin. It was so cold. So yes. Well, we've got various people in. We have Maya, I hope I pronounced that properly, and we've got Becca, and we've got Wibblechick Chris. Hello, and we've got some extra people that haven't said hello. I'm sure that's because they're not able to. So hello, everybody. Hope you're well. Cats have decided that they're going to start doing the in and out thing. So there's probably going to be lots of noises with the big bonk of the cat flap. So excuse that in advance. It happens.
No cats in this evening. I don't know where they are. They've sauntered off. Oh, thank you. Jill likes my plants. This is me being bored. This is default setting, really.
Yeah, I like them too, Jill. Actually, they're great, aren't they? I think they really suit you. I think they're lovely.
I've worn them ever since I was very small. I'm no longer very small, but very old.
So we've got Julian, hello, and we've got Rowan in, hello. Hope you're all well. Oh, and Rowan's having to work while they listen. So not here.
Not barely listening. We'll whisper then, shall we? It works so well. I don't know sign language, I don't know you.
That one. Oh dear. So what have you been up to this week?
It's been a strange old week, really. Myself and darling hubby have both had COVID vaccination jabs today. So I've got a sore arm, but apart from that, I'm feeling absolutely fine. But I was stood out in the rain for a good long time, and although I didn't mind standing out in the rain, there were an awful lot of people there who seemed to be somewhat older, she says, probably not, but frailer, and generally the kind of people who shouldn't have been standing out in the rain for any length of time. So I did feel a bit sorry for them. That made it an eventful day because, of course, we didn't get our appointments at the same time because that would have been far too logical. We had one at 10:45, and then I had to go back for a 2 o'clock. Great. So my day has been quite unproductive.
Yeah. And of course, there's nothing like a nice hefty lunch in a pub in the meanwhile either.
Well, that's not happening, is it?
That would have been nice, wouldn't it? We've got Susie in. Hello, Susie. I just want to say a big thank you for last night, Susie. Susie ran a moot last night, and it was most marvellous. It really was. And it was about witch hunting. It was fascinating. It really was. Based on a Ron Hutton talk that happened a couple of weeks ago, or last week, I think it was. And also on a book called Cursed Britain, who I've forgotten the name of the author, names. I've got the book. It's excellent. Went to the talk. It's excellent. Speaker was marvellous too. Can't remember his name. Sorry about that.
Nobody forgets Ron Hutton.
But yeah, so it was based on that, and it was really, really thought provoking. It was, sort of these were the things that happened over the centuries. Various different ways of either proving that somebody was a witch, or being accused of a witch, or how they were tortured, and so on and so forth. And it was, how would you react? Things like that. And I wasn't able to say yesterday, but it's one of the things that genuinely used to keep me up when I was a very little girl.
Yeah.
Seriously, really small, sort of 5 or 6. I used to think about it. It's like, what would I do? And what would I say if people were doing that to me because I was witch? It was, really, really it was disproportionate for my age, really.
I think it was very scary because ultimately you were kind of damned if you did and damned if you didn't. Once someone had accused you, there wasn't any, oh, well, sort of get out of jail free card. There was absolutely nothing you could do if you happened to be female. Because, of course, most of these people probably weren't witches in the way we would understand. There might have been cunning men or women, there may have been healers, or there may have just been ordinary people who someone took a dislike to, which seemed to be a large part of it. It was more about being down on women and their importance in society and making sure that that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of instances though where you say women, and there's quite a lot of documented evidence that actually men were as accused, if not in some cases more accused than women.
Wow. Okay.
Actually, I'm quite surprised about. I always thought it was predominantly women, even if it was 51%. But yeah, there was quite a lot of instances that were discussed yesterday where it was very, male heavy on the accusations and so on. Yeah, Thomas Waters, that's the one. Thank you. So yeah, it was very, very thought provoking. Unfortunately, I was absolutely pooped, so I didn't contribute very much. I sort of sat there with half an eye open, and I was listening, but sort of mouth, no.
So the men heavy sort of episodes of kind of witch finding, that was not so much. It depended what country you're in, because Susie said in England women seem to be particularly targeted, and that's probably why we resonate with it more. But if it's I mean, obviously it would have been all over the place, and even things still go on today, don't they, where people are persecuted children. I think that's in some places absolutely horrific.
In this country, children, shockingly enough, and that's on the rise, and that was discussed last night as well. So it was a very heavy discussion, but it was excellent. It really was absolutely excellent. I've been thinking about it all day. Actually, it was really very good. So I would like to say a huge thank you for that. I really enjoyed it. It was really good. So yes, on a lighter note, moving on. It's such a big topic, and it is, I think it's something that we should cover at some point.
Oh God, yeah. I'd need to do some more research to feel a bit more informed, because I don't feel like I am. It's like anything. Once you start looking at it, like what you think you know, it's like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I remember going on one of my European tours in the camper van, Betty the camper van, and I went to a place called Würzburg, and that had all sorts of horrific dealings. But actually, the town in Germany that was cited wasn't Würzburg. It was another town, and there was something like 1,600 in 1 year or something like that. It was just this. It wasn't in 1 year. It was in a matter of days. I think it was. It was. I'm sure somebody will correct me. It was mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing. So yeah. But yes, so we will deal with that. For anyone that's interested in the historical facts of that, is something that I'm very, very interested in. I've got lots of books on that, so I will be doing some historical stuff on that at some point, and there'll be sort of a series of videos on that for it. So yes, we will be covering that definitely. Right, what have we got? We've got Big Girls Really Do Cry.
We got Lainey.
What's that? Yeah, 133 burnt in 1 day. That's the one. How awful is that? And that was including children.
I know. I used to have nightmares about that when I was a kid.
Yeah, dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. So yes, I do want to change the subject because it's such a dark and heavy subject, and it's very, very sad. But obviously, in today's relatively modern society, I say relatively, quite chosen. In today's relatively modern society, obviously, we're allowed mostly to do what we want to do, which is why we're sitting chatting to you now. And on Saturday, we had one of our girly crafting sessions, and one of the things that we made was wafters. You can see that.
That is sweet.
These feathers are all feathers that I collected from my little pond up the road, from all the ducks and things. They were just sort of lying around one particular day when I went up with some peas, and So I sort of collected them and thought, oh, I'll use them for something at some point in time. And Saturday was that point in time. So it's I've got a lavender stick, and then I've got lolly sticks on the back, and then everything's all glued together. And then I found a what's this thing here, pendant actually, which I attached with some wire cutters and got the knobbly bit off the top. And yeah, so what that will be used for will be for, if I'm doing some smudging, or if I've got some incense and I need to do some room clearing, even whether it's at home, and I'm just sort of like doing a sort of a regular sort of cleanse, if you like, or whether it's at someone else's house, because I get asked to do cleansings at other people's houses from time to time. So I shall take out my trusty wafter.
Yeah, I have a version of a wafter, and it's one that I think I made on a particular camp a wee while back, where it was all of feathers, and it's all like peacock and various big feathers, and then bound at one end so that it's like a wing almost. That's great for wafting around your incense, because you want to get it in all. I shouldn't say this in front of this sort of company, but you want it to go in all the nooks and crannies.
The crooks and nannies.
Crooks and nannies even need to be cleansed.
It's perfect, isn't it? Because if you've just got a sage smudge, or if you've just got an incense stick or whatever, of course it tends to have this sort of plume of smoke that goes up, but that really disperses it effectively, doesn't it, rather than just having a few bits in a corner. So yeah, that works really well. So on the subject of cleansing, Heather, do you have any particular go-to oils or herbs or components that you would favour over other ones?
I like mugwort. Particular favourite. Always like to have a nice big bag of that. It's always very good. Whether I make an infusion with it and sprinkle, whether I use it in an incense, doesn't smell the most amazing. I've got to say, I almost prefer it steeped in some water, moon water or something like that, and then depends where I am, really. Depends where I am. But I'll grab a nice smelly candle if at a push, if I'm in, no, I haven't got time to set anything up, a nice fragrant candle that, especially one of these lovely ones that's all made naturally, that can also be useful, and I will then waft its scent and smoke around as well. In terms of sort of favoured herbs, I do like a bit of rosemary as an uplifting, cleansing kind of feel. Very much. That you always add that slightly resinous smell is quite powerful. I think you don't need much of it either.
No, a little of that goes a very long way, doesn't it? It's very efficient for what it does, I think. Yeah, I'm the same. I tend to have, sort of go-to herbs, but then, I might have a particular reason for using certain herbs over other ones as well. But I'd say my go-to herbs, I grow sage in the garden. I've got a huge sage bush in the garden. It's not white sage, it's just regular green sage. But I use that quite regularly. I make my own smudge sticks with it. But they're not all necessarily just sage. So I make some that have rosemary in, and or mugwort in. Some have yarrow in, depending again on what I want in them. And lavender as well. Obviously, that's quite nice for cleansing. But like you say, I make some infusions and stuff too, and that's quite nice for sort of washing down woodwork and doorways and thresholds and that kind of thing. So I quite like to do that too. Yeah. Do you use a bell when you're cleansing?
I like using a bell. I've got one that makes the most amazing sound, and I can just use that on its own to quickly clear out. I mean, obviously you can clap and do whatever, but there's something about the purity of a bell, especially a really nicely made one, because the sound just keeps going. It's not short. You can always tell really cheapy bells because they kind of go ding and then they finish, whereas a well-made one will resonate for quite a long time. Not like a singing bowl, obviously it's not at that level, but I've got one that I just love. It's got a little pisky thing on it, and it clack clack. Yeah, good stuff. And I think I actually found her. I think I found it in a charity shop, but it was something about the tone of it. It sounded so rich as well as high, and I was like, "That's the stuff." Yeah.
I've got several bells actually. I've got about 5 or 6, and again, it depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes you can try with one bell, and it's especially if you've got a particularly dead corner in a room, you know, if you've
Yeah,
had
yeah.
problems, and it literally just goes clank. And you
Well,
think, I need a bigger bell for this one. So yeah, I've got a variety of bells. And it's quite funny that, you know, sometimes you'll try with 2 or 3 bells and it just doesn't seem to do the trick. And then
yeah,
you find the right bell and then suddenly bing and it
yeah.
clears.
The
That's
length of
the
the note.
one. Yeah, yeah. Witchin
Mm.
says, what have we got here? Ah, I like this. DIY witchery.
Exactly.
Right.
Improvisation is all.
Absolutely, we like this. Wine glass and a pencil in emergencies makes a good bell. If you have nothing else, thank you. Yes, absolutely. I never actually used that, but yes, I think that's a very useful tip. If you've got any wine glasses and you haven't broken them all,
Yeah. Unfortunately, you can't stay the same, really, can you? And be careful if it's crystal. Don't want to break it.
it's breaking everything. I'm not quite as bad as I was. This time last year, everything just took a hammering, if you remember.
Yes, I
Dreadful.
remember coming to yours, and it was a struggle. There was 2 of us, and it was a struggle for us to find something to drink out of. It was nearly 1 glass and 2 straws.
It was, yeah. An old shoe, I think, was mentioned at one point in time.
Mm. Right. Oh,
Oh God, yes. So yeah, and it's so annoying. I don't break quite as many things as I did, as I say, this time last year. But a few months ago, I thought, right, I have one reasonable size glass because I've broken several of the other ones that matched it, and then I had one other glass which had been a Nutella pot at some point in time, and that was it. I thought I'm going to treat myself to a set of 4 glasses. So I bought a set of 4 glasses, put them in the boot, brought them home. How many were left in the boot when I got home?
not
One.
full.
No, one. One and a big pile of glass. I thought, oh,
Oops.
never even got as far as my front door.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm destined not to have any set of matching glasses. And it's like wine glasses, you know, sort of like, cheers. Oh, and there goes the bottom.
Plastic ones.
Yeah.
Get your plastic ones.
I've got a couple of metal ones actually, but I don't like drinking out of a metal glass. You know what I mean?
No, it doesn't work. All those enamel things that you're supposed to have for camping and that, and it makes things taste absolutely shite.
Yeah. But I've got a really nice sort of I don't know if it's actual pewter or whether it's just pewter coloured, but I've got a metal wine glass chalice thing. And
Yeah.
it's really super fancy and it's, you know, I think it's worth probably quite a lot of money. But I don't like drinking out of it at all. I don't know whether it's because the metal's really, really cold and
Mm.
that's why I don't like it. I don't know. I just don't. What are you doing?
Oh,
Um, um, but yeah, so for whatever reason it is, I do have that, and that does seem to be fairly indestructible. I'll probably bend it at some point, but
yeah. Put a bit and tread on it. It's like, ooh.
oh, that's a much better idea. Straight from the bottle. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I find a nice a ceramic sort of chalice can work quite well. But I
Yeah,
think things with metal, you always feel like it taints the wine a bit somehow.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I've
definitely.
had sort of silver plate ones, and they're okay if you don't leave the wine sitting in there for any length of time. But it just, yeah, it seems to add
Yeah,
something to the drink that it didn't need.
it does definitely. Becca says she has a singing bowl and she loves it. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love singing bowls. Yeah, I got into them a few years ago. I used to have a shop and went off to one of the sort of trade fairs at one point in time, and there was sort of like various sets of them. And it's like, I need these in my shop. And of course, then trying to make the decisions to what sizes to have because they come in, well, all shapes and sizes,
Many
really.
shapes.
And yeah, so that was quite a chore actually, sort of whittling down what sizes I thought might be suitable. So I have quite a few of them, and I've still got some of them actually. But yeah, I do like those. I don't use them as much as I should do, really, but I love the sound of them. Have you ever
Mm.
tried one of the crystal singing bowls?
I think I was at a camp somewhere where somebody had them. Um, uh, a lovely lady called Lisa had a set. these different bowls, all different sizes, and I believed, I don't know if they were glass or crystal, but their sound, I actually found it almost too much. I literally found myself going, yep, yep.
Yeah,
It was really hard.
It was, Lisa, yeah. But they sound amazing. I've never had to go ringing them though. Yeah, metal ones. I've had, plenty goes at that. I've never had to go at doing one of the crystal ones. I wouldn't mind trying that at some point.
Yeah. The sound is really something. When you're doing it, because I did have a play, bless her, she let me have a go. It doesn't sound so loud when you sat near it, but when you come away, when it starts reverbing off walls and things, like, oh my god!
Where the sound bath comes in,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah. You find yourself kind of climbing the wall, going, "Yeah, that's a bit loud."
Yeah.
Has anyone tried a drinking horn? Weeble asking.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
With mead.
Time.
Yeah.
Oh God! Do you know what? A few years ago, I was honoured to do hand fasting for a very dear couple, and they had drinking horns, and they gave a lot of people drinking horns to take with them. They were like the gifts, some of the gifts for some of the men specifically, and they had these special table things made so that the horns could sit in them. So they were kind of like a sort of a plank of wood with a row of holes in them, basically, that sort of had ends on them that were sort of well balanced.
Otherwise, you can't put your drink down. You get the drunk very quickly if you're constantly holding it.
But of course, there were some people that sort of had these special holsters for them and so on. But yeah, it was just great, sort of seeing and there was 300 people at this wedding, and there must have been a good 200 drinking horns. Must have cost them a fortune. So yeah, all these drinking horns everywhere, and it's like, I think you'll find that's mine. It's like, no, I think that one's mine.
Yeah.
I had the most in it, So yes, I have tried those, but again, I found that also, I don't know. Obviously being vegan, it was a little bit weird, but I also found that they had added a certain taste or texture or something that just didn't seem quite right. I can't explain it, but definitely it felt a bit weird. Definitely. Yeah. But as I say, I don't know whether that was just, because I'm vegan and I was just a bit like, ooh.
A lot of the drinking horns are actually made out of plastic. They're not necessarily they were horns. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, people used to drink out of horn cups years and years ago. It was quite a known thing. But of course, a very old one that's been well used, well varnished, well whatever, is not going to taint it. But a kind of a more recently done one is going to be a bit fresher.
Yeah, and that was the kind of
bit fresh.
Oh no,
That's not vegetarian. Never mind vegan.
Yeah, yeah, and it was definitely a bit strange. Definitely a bit on the odd side. As I said, I sort of wanted to, sort of be part of it and stuff, and I did drink out of it. No, it's just not for me. It's glass. I won't break it. I promise. So yeah, it was a bit strange. I had mead in mind. I found a chili mead. Ooh,
wow.
Cold weather.
Dangerous though.
Nice.
It's like chili vodka, isn't it? That way it can lie. Oh no. I've seen how that disagrees with somebody.
Oh.
It's downstairs at the moment, but it wasn't good.
Oh dear, not pretty.
No. It was, flavoured vodkas were very much a thing in the 90s, very much a kind of a fashion thing. And there was this bar that used to serve them. So, of course, we salted down there. I try one or two and go, yeah, no, I think I'll just stick with beer. Somebody else decided they quite like to carry on, and they cap off the evening with a chilly one. It was very technical. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So the thought of a chili vodka is never really appealed. And chili mead, I suspect, because mead has a history and a reputation for people getting pished on it. Yeah.
Yes.
We've all seen the end results.
We have seen a few examples of that, haven't we?
Brilliant.
Oh dear, yes. Sometimes horns covered in beeswax. Yes, I think they probably are actually, Rowan. Yes, I think I'd agree with that.
which may add to the slightly peculiar flavour.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Maybe,
Yeah.
don't know.
There was something strange about the inside. I don't know
Mm.
whether it was they weren't. They were very, very smooth on the outside, but
That's what
they
I'm
were.
saying. The modern ones, they hadn't really finished the inside to the same
Yeah,
standard.
and the
Mm.
inside they were just. That's they were fairly smooth, but they weren't completely smooth like the outsides were. And it was just, I don't know, there was just something meaty about it. It was just,
Meaty, yeah. Yeesh.
yeah,
Yeesh.
no, it wasn't for me. I
That's
thought,
not appealing, and I can be as carnivore as the rest of them, but that's making me feel a bit queasy. So
no, no, it definitely wasn't for me.
unexpected item in the meat area. It's like,
No, it really wasn't for me, I'm afraid. So yeah, I mean, I wanted to be part of it, and they were, lovely.
yeah.
It just isn't for me. I'll leave that for the others. Oh dear God. Yeah, not for me at all. Yeah. So yeah, we had our crafting weekend, day. So I made my wafter,
Mm.
and we made some self-love incense as well, because obviously it was just before Valentine's Day. Um, and we had a discussion last week, didn't we? Sort of saying about sort of looking after yourself and how important it is to sort of accept yourself in order to be accepted and liked by people. So yeah, we made some self-love incense as well, which was rather nice. I don't think what else we made. Something else. What else did we make?
Did you all put different things in, stuff that made you feel good? Was that the
Yeah,
idea, to make it very personal? So you would pick, if you loved the scent of roses, you'd put rose petals in, or
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So there was part of that. I mean, obviously you've got various correspondences for certain herbs and resins and so on, which are um, more suitable,
yeah,
traditionally suitable, if you like. But to be honest with you, if something goes in and you have it in purely because it's suitable and you absolutely detest the smell of it, then you're less
yeah.
likely to burn it for a start.
That's not self-love, is it? Really, if you're going, ew, what was that I put in? Mm.
Exactly. But then, sometimes you can put something in that individually doesn't smell that great, but then you'll put it with something else and it will bring out a richer, fuller, sweeter scent to it, so sometimes that happens too.
Yes,
So I
yeah.
had, what did I have in mine? I had some benzoin and some frankincense and some amber. Obviously, we've talked about amber before.
Right. Yes.
And some amber. I put in some dried rose buds, actually, which I'd had for quite some time. One of my daughter's friends had given me one of those, those little miniature rose bushes that you can get in the supermarket. And
Yeah,
she
the
bought one.
tiny, tiny ones.
Yeah, the really, really tiny ones. And they never seem to last very long from supermarket to house. I don't quite know why. Anyway, the plant itself did, but the roses that were forced at the time didn't. So I snipped them all off and dried them. So I used some of those, obviously stuck them in the mortar and pestle and ground them up. I put in a couple of other herbs as well. I'm trying to think what else I put in, actually. Can't remember. But yeah, it smells like what we here, actually. I'll show you. But it's nice, and it's come out this sort of lovely pinky colour. I don't know if you can see that. Go the right way. Can it be seen? Why is that not showing? Oh, that's because it's the wrong bloody thing. There we go.
Ah,
Yeah,
there we are.
yeah,
I was
there we go.
thinking, what am I looking at
Yeah,
there?
there we go. So it's this lovely sort of pinky colour, and
Oh,
it smells really, really nice. And I put a little bit of sugar in it as well. Sweeten myself up a little bit. Stop me being an old bag, basically. I can be an old bag.
ah,
I think I'm probably more horrible to myself than I am to anybody else. But yeah,
I think that's
the
entirely
idea.
possible.
Yeah. So I think
Self-love
that's
is about not being horrible to yourself.
yeah. So I thought, well, I'll put a little bit of sugar in there and a bit of cinnamon. Cinnamon was one of the things I like. It smells lovely, actually.
Yeah.
Some essential oils in as well. So yeah, so it's quite nice. So quite a lot of it. So that's going to be going in a jar, so I can use it when I'm being horrible to myself. I'm like, no, be nice.
Be kind to yourself.
Yeah,
Well, yes, exactly. And sometimes it's, you know, sort of putting things off that you mean to do for yourself and putting them off because you're making yourself come further down your priority list than perhaps one should.
yeah,
And that takes some getting over. You think, hang on a minute, hang on a minute. And
yeah,
as we were saying before we came live, I think you find that as one gets a little older, you do get a little higher maintenance. You do have to take better care of things, like an old house. You know,
yeah,
needs more upkeep, perhaps. To keep ticking along. And you know, you have years and years of doing absolutely sod all and nothing because you can. And then
yeah,
you kind of think, yeah, but I'm worth a little bit of attention. You know,
yeah,
it's good
yeah,
to do it, and investment for the future as
yeah,
well, thinking further ahead. So yeah, self-love isn't just about buying yourself a box of chocolates. It's taking a longer view on things as well, I think. And
yeah,
you know, if all of this experience of lockdowns and what have you has been good for a lot of people, in a way it's been because it's made them really reevaluate and step back. And I was having quite a long conversation with a very good friend of mine this morning, who, you know, in spite of being absolutely beside herself with all that's going on and the negatives of it, has made her plans become a bit more concrete. The things aren't they're not a when, an if, they're a when now. And that, I think, is very important if you're going to do something,
yeah,
to have the strength and know that you can carry it through. And I think a lot of people have found themselves to be a lot stronger than they thought they were with it
yeah,
all.
yeah. It's quite interesting actually when you talk to people that, you know, are obviously, everyone's in the same boat to an extent. And there's been a lot of self-discovery out there, hasn't there?
Oh
And,
yeah.
you know, a lot of introspection, a lot of self-discovery. And I think, you know, it isn't necessarily an entirely good thing. But there's certainly good elements in that you know yourself better and so on. And I think it's important. And I think you lose sight of yourself sometimes. You know, you sort of get wrapped up in the daily humdrum of life, and you know, and everything's all
Busy.
rush and busy, and you've got to do this and do that, and you know, you find so many mums that practically live in the car because they're trying to work, and they're sort of ferrying child A to point B and child B to point F. And
Yeah.
their point finished there, and now they need to be ferried somewhere else. And mum literally is trying to work in between whatever. And you find that you're living in the car for whatever reason. And of course, you know, you've got that step back and it's just that little bit simpler. Yes, obviously there's lots of issues and so on, but you know, the living a simpler life in many respects, I think, is quite healthy, even if it's only for a short time.
Well, exactly. And I mean, the thing is, I think the sort of lockdown 2 and 3, or whatever this last lot is being called, has had a much bigger impact because, you know, going into winter as we were, that is traditionally the time when you do go within and introspection, all that stuff gets looked at.
Yeah,
So it was right at a very dark time of the year that we really went into it.
yeah,
And you know, I think that kind of resonated with people a lot more the first time. And it's like, oh well, it's summer and we can be outside and in the garden and treat it
yeah,
like summer, you know, a summer break and what have you.
yeah,
Feels like it's carried a lot more weight this time, and that's probably why the introspection has happened, because that's what we're sort of programmed to do biologically and spiritually and everything anyway at that time of year, but we've been forced to because all
yeah,
the other distractions haven't been available.
yeah. You know, nobody's wanted to go outside because the weather's been rubbish and so on, and it's hasn't it?
Oh yes.
Um, yeah. Yeah. Whereas before, people were like, oh, well, you know, I'll just use this and go to the park. I'll use this and do this. I'll use this and go for a bike ride. I'll use this and go to the beach or whatever, even when you weren't supposed to. Whereas this time, it's just nobody's wanted to venture out really, and it has been that whole sort of just sitting in with a blanket and Netflix or whatever it is that floats somebody's boat. Um, you know, and it's just reevaluating things, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah, more time to think.
Yeah. Let me just read that back up there. I missed a comment. Ah, there it is. Come back. Pre-lockdown, I used to scrounge battered flowers from our local florist. Great for incense experiments. What a great idea. Never even thought of
Thinking.
that. Brilliant. Yeah. I used to get. I used to go to the local greengrocers when there were local greengrocers. I haven't seen one of those for a few years. For anyone under the age of 40, that's people that sold things not in a supermarket.
Yeah.
And I used to get sort of battered fruit and vegetables to do various witchcraft stuff with. But I've never even thought of going to the florist. That's a really brilliant idea. Why didn't I think of that?
Because somebody else did. Yay.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that's a really good idea. Thank you. I shall. I'll be on their case. God, they're going to see me coming. They're like, oh God, it's her again. Walk in and sort of like flail your umbrella about. See that flower down there?
That I've just bashed. You don't want that, do you?
No, you won't be able to sell that. But no, I think that's an excellent idea, with or without an umbrella.
Yes. Rowan's come up with a handy tip, which that's quite useful actually, to dry things but to keep the scent. It worked with fresh rosemary, which actually, is to put in the paper bag and roll it, but actually then put it in the fridge until it dries. Because fridges naturally dehydrate things, which I suppose does make sense. I hadn't thought of it that way. But yeah, because quite often I do put things in paper bags, but you don't think to use the fridge.
No, I don't use the fridge because I don't feel personally, certainly not the fridge. Well, the one that I had before, everything used to end up soggy and wet because it was faulty. But I don't necessarily feel that they would dehydrate either faster or quicker, because obviously, like, usually it tends to sort of be in a heated place, doesn't it? Sort of like
I always talk about an airing cupboard, so I haven't got one there.
Or whatever, or on top of a radiator or near a radiator. So yes, the paper bag thing, and I do that all the time. In fact, I've probably got about 30 on the go now. No, 20 on the go now. I use reuse paper bags. So if I've had some bread or sort of something from the shop, I will save the bags and then reuse them and reuse them and reuse them. But I don't know about them being dehydrated. I mean, mushrooms dehydrate in the fridge if you don't keep them in. Well, they do all sorts of weird things, mushrooms, don't they?
Yeah. But I suppose does it preserve the scent though? Because sometimes if you put something on like a radiator, the scent will go as well as.
Yeah, of course. The
so
scent.
perhaps it'd be worth experimenting with anyway. I'd certainly, if I have room in the fridge, that is.
I've been being fed at work, so I haven't had to buy any food at all. And so I've got a lovely empty fridge, so I'm going to have that go with that. Yeah, I'm going to have a go with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, something like rosemary. Rosemary's got quite a lot of sort of structural integrity, if you will, isn't it? They're quite firm little things anyway, so maybe it works with something like that. Yeah. Interesting, Rowan. Yes.
I'm just wondering though, if it's in a cold environment, I'm sure, yes, eventually it would dehydrate. Obviously, you need to keep it out of the salad drawer and things like that in a paper bag and whatnot. But I'm just wondering whether it would just, that whole thing of obviously fridges keep things fresh for longer. Would it just prolong it to such an extent that maybe it wouldn't dry, depending on what it was?
I think it depends what it is that you're doing, I would imagine. That's why I'd say it'd be quite a good experiment.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to get onto that. I'm working right through till Saturday. I'm off Sunday, so I'm going to do that. I'll have a go at that on Sunday.
Yeah.
That will be my choice.
It's the thought of something being in the fridge and you finding you've got something rather slimy as opposed to something dried. There's always that element. But that's probably just me in bad storage.
Yeah. No, me, I'll probably be well eat it. I've eaten everything this week.
There is that.
Oh my God.
It's a different flavour.
They're really good with vegan food. I had the absolute best vegan macaroni cheese that I've ever eaten in my whole life today, vegan or otherwise.
Get the recipe off.
Oh, it was amazing. Really was. So that was nice. And then they made me a vegan chocolate brownie. They're proper spoiling me. I threatened to roll home instead of drive,
Oh yeah, it's not meant to be a feed yourself silly exercise, is it?
No, but they do. It's like, we've made you this, we've made you this, and it's like, wow. And it's like, you know, 3 full meals a day and loads and loads of snacks. It's like, wow. So, I think they see me as a bit of a challenge. So yeah, it's very, very nice, but wow, it's a lot of stuff. Does mean on my days off, I think, oh, you know, prior to having a day off, I think I'm going to be really, really good. I'm going to eat almost nothing because clearly I've had plenty of calories this week. But of course, you know, stomach's going, oi,
Yeah,
what about dinner?
second breakfast, third breakfast, brunch, 11s.
It gets to 9:30 in the morning and I'm thinking, what can I eat next?
Exactly. End up like some hobbit with 20 meals a day.
Oh God, yeah, it's definitely not good for the waistline working there, definitely. But bloody nice. Not much longer. Oh dear, what's that? I think the air circulation in the fridge might be the dehydration. But
Yeah.
maybe things left open in the fridge will dehydrate and not go slimy. Yeah.
Definitely looking forward to trying that.
Yeah, definitely going to try that and see how it goes. I shall report back accordingly.
Yes.
Detailed report. Yeah. Well, that's interesting though. So that's in paper bags in the fridge. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, right, wasn't it? Yeah, in paper bags in the fridge.
So it needs quite a certain amount of air circulating around it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Terribly sorry. Snuck up on me, that one.
I knocked it off at work yesterday. That was a bit rude, wasn't it?
At work.
In the council, stuffed my face again.
Come prod you with a stick.
Yeah, you know that I just closed my eyes for a second, and I sort of like went into that nice drifty phase, and then I suddenly got Rebecca. Oh, yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah, what, me? Yeah. Whoop.
Coming.
Need sleep? No.
I think it was probably only about 2 or 3 minutes, but yeah, too much lunch.
There's nothing quite like that sleep, though, is there?
It's irritating because I'd lost one of my chins and they seem to be back. Never mind.
That'll be the snacks, I'm guessing.
Yeah. It's all very good, very healthy food, but there's just a lot of it.
It'll keep you warm, you see.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm outside all the time, and that's why I'm sort of thinking I will have that because it's so cold to be outside for hour after hour, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll all come off. Oh dear. Yes. Have you got any books on the go at the moment?
To be honest, I've been quite tired and not really reading much. Apart from sort of the odd bits of newspapers and things lurking about. I know Nigel had just been reading a John le Carré book. Yeah, I haven't really got any novels on the go at the moment. I need a new supply of things. And I was watching the TV show A Discovery of Witches, having been recommended to me, and actually quite enjoying it. But it's based on some books, and when I see a TV series, I always think the books are probably going to be a hell of a lot better. So I quite like to find the books.
Yeah, see if we can find them. So it's based on the books series of fiction rather than Discovery of Witches from the Witchfinder General.
Oh yeah. Obviously, that's where they've nicked the title from. But there's actually a trilogy of books.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've not seen it. I can't comment. So.
It's very silly. I mean, these things are always very silly, but quite enjoyable.
Sky made? Was it made by Sky?
I can't remember if it's Sky or Netflix, to be honest, because we sort of alternate between the two. But you know, we try and sort of hunt around for things to watch, and because someone had said, and I think it was someone in one of the reselling groups actually had said, "Oh wow, this is quite good. Give that a look."
Is that the one that's supposed to be university? Starts off in a university.
Yes.
Oh, I think I saw half of the first one of them.
Yeah.
2 years ago, and my daughter recorded it for me. And I saw half of the first one. Baby woke up, and that was the end of that. I never saw it anymore.
That'll happen. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
All of that. Yeah, didn't get to see the rest of them.
I like watching series on TV, but I do prefer to read a book.
Hmm.
So, but
Yeah.
obviously, I'm not getting out and finding the books in the charity shops and things that I normally would. So, but I've got plenty of things that I want to reread. I've got I picked up an interesting book all about the teenage brain and how it rewires itself during adolescence, and I bought it because psychologically it's very interesting. Plus, I happen to be in proud possession of a teenager, so I thought it might be also useful for him to read at some point, so he'll get a view on it, which would be very interesting. But he hasn't actually read it yet.
Yeah. I'm sure he will at some point.
Quite possibly, yeah.
I've got a couple of, or a novel on the go, which is part of a series. Actually, I would recommend them. They're light, easy reading. And they're what's her name? Sid Moore, I think her name is. And there's 4 or 5 in the series. I've seen her talk actually. She's really great. But there's 4 or 5 in the series, and it's based on the premise is that there's a witchcraft museum in Essex. So it's the Essex Witchcraft Mysteries, basically. Okay. Witchcraft Museum. Did I say museum? So it's the Essex Witchcraft Museum Mysteries, and there's 4, I think, in the series, or 5. And I'm on the 4th one at the moment. It's called Strange Tombs. So they're all strange something. And because the main central character is Miss Strange, and they're a bit tongue in cheek, and they're a bit sort of Agatha Christie tongue in cheek, but they're really quite good fun actually. They're an easy read, a few pages here and there, and they're really quite amusing actually. So I've been enjoying it. It's Sid Moore, I think her name is, and she's got quite a good sense of humour. So I quite enjoy these, but they're sort of they're not heavy reading. It's sort of something quite nice to drift off to sleep with in the evening and stuff. They're quite
That's
good
what
fun.
you need sometimes. Something straightforward.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't always want something complicated last thing in the evening, really. I mean, lately I found I must be dreaming an awful lot because I wake up in the morning feeling more tired than when I went to bed, like I've done a day's work sort of thing. So,
There's a lot of people I've noticed in the groups that I'm in on Facebook, which Facebook groups, that have been saying exactly the same thing. Actually, that they're really having very, very vivid dreams and lucid dreams, and they are waking up absolutely exhausted. It seems to be quite a thing at the moment.
I've definitely got a lot of it going on. I don't know whether part of it is because I can sense the light at the end of the tunnel with this stuff. So you kind of get into planning mode of when this is over, I'm going to do. I think there's a bit of that about it. But I do think, yes, there is a change in energy, and and I do get this occasionally. For me, it's something that will happen where I literally go through a run of very big and major dreamings, and then it'll all ease off again. I normally sleep well. That's why it's unusual for me. I don't normally have an issue with it, but when I wake up in the night and then I'm sort of dipped back into a dream, and the quality of sleep I get is not quite as good as I'd like.
Yeah, and it's frustrating, isn't it? Actually,
Yeah.
I wonder if it's where the moon is, because obviously you've got the moon in Aquarius, or is it just coming out of Aquarius now? Probably going back into Mercury. It seems to be permanently in Mercury, doesn't it?
Mercury's always got something to bloody do with what's going on.
I know. Yeah. It's like Bill fucking blew in Mercury.
Yeah.
But so I don't know whether it's where it's shifted into Aquarius, and that's why. But it seems to be very much a common theme. Actually, I think my dreams are a bit more lucid than usual too. So, I don't know whether it's. I mean, not significantly, but a little bit. I don't know whether it's anything to do with that. I suppose it could be, but I don't know. It's just strange. It's just noticeable that so many people have been commenting. Sort of more dreams than usual, more vivid, more lucid dreams than usual. Definitely seems to be a running theme there. So
Yeah, and I've always had a pretty full on dream life, I would say. I've always considered dreaming to be one of my hobbies, and it's a part of my life and a very significant part of it. So when I get ones that are absolutely feel like you've been through the mill, you've literally been rinsed around the washing machine of nighttime.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wake up thinking, oh, I need to rest now.
Yes. Now we need to sleep to get over that dream. Yeah.
When you're actually in a dream and you're dreaming that you're tired and need to go to sleep in the dream, something's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a telltale sign, that one, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm not overworking or doing anything stunningly unusual. I'm not worrying per se. I'm not really a worrier. I'm just not. But I do like to do my thinking when I'm in a relaxed state at night. It's as I've said before, it's where I do my magical work, but it's also where I like to just ponder things, sort the world out.
Yes. Yeah. Do you get recurring dreams, or have you had recurring dreams?
I've had experience with them in the past. I certainly don't get them at the moment, and I know because when I was a therapist, a lot of my work would be around dream work and stuff that people had come up, and I'm aware that if you're getting recurring dreams, then you've really got to start to listen to them and pay attention and
Yeah.
work them forward either in trance state or in the dream state to move it on. And so when I've noticed certain things coming up, I think, okay, I've got to pay attention to this, that, and the other. I know what to do. But yeah, I mean, some people get very stuck in cycles of repetitive dreams, and they'll go away for a long while and then come back again because something in their life has triggered that again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I certainly don't get particularly recurring themes. I mean, nothing that's very obvious or worrying at the moment. But yeah, I think people here are getting it too. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know, I used to have a very disturbing recurring dream when I was little, and I used to dream that I was walking on a familiar. It was a genuine footpath that I used to go on quite regularly, which used to go onto the downs. And as I was walking along, I would spot in the reasonable sort of clear, near distance, as it were, I would spot a tree trunk which was hollow tree trunk, and I would, sort of see this tree trunk and walk towards it. Now, this started happening when I was probably about 4 or 5. I was really small when I started having these dreams, and I'd walk towards it. And as I was walking towards it, the tree would fall over across my path that's still in the distance. I'd be worried about it and run up to it because it had just fallen over, and I was upset that this tree trunk had fallen over. And then it would get up and it would chase me all back through this path, and then through the streets where the houses were, to the local park. And the park itself, in reality, has no wall around the perimeter at all. But in the dream, it had a brick wall all the way around this particular park. And I would jump over the wall, land on somebody's picnic blanket, sit down and have a picnic. So what a weird dream. I was terrified. This tree scared the crap out of me. And so I'd have these dreams, several nights a week. And over time, I learned to go less close to the tree because I knew it was going to fall over, so that I'd have a running start to run away from this tree, because once it had fallen over, it was going to get up and chase me. And these dreams happened until I was about 15. I had them at least for 10 years. And then it was only about 4 or 5 years ago, so, sort of fast forward 30 years, 40 years, and blow me, I had the same flaming dream again. How weird is it? Yeah, it was. I woke up and I was like, oh my God, that tree.
But now you might deal with it differently if it comes back because you've got years of experience and.
Yeah, but it still happens. I just don't get caught.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I had horrible nightmares as a child.
Yeah,
absolutely shocking ones. Ones that I dreamed that there were things coming out of the darkness, and I mean, really full on right from a very early age. And again, I didn't necessarily know what was a dream, what wasn't, because you're so close to your unconscious at that age. But I used to get up in the middle of the night and be terrified, seek out a parent who wasn't always very sympathetic. But then my son Alex also had quite bad nightmares when he was little. Doesn't now, and I didn't later on, but really just odd ones were incredibly dark. And you think, where does that come from for a child?
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Really strange. I think the worst set of nightmares that I ever had was when I decided to give up smoking, which was relatively successful. I did it for 2.5. Gave up smoking for 2.5 years, and I was using the patches, the nicotine replacement patches, and oh God, the nightmares were horrific. They seriously were. I would wake up full body sweat and so on.
Yeah.
But they were just indescribable. Actually, they were awful, and that was one of the main reasons that I vowed that obviously it didn't work, but I vowed that I wouldn't go back to smoking because I couldn't face going through all those nightmares again if I chose to give up smoking a second time and use the patches, because the patches gave me such terrible, terrible nightmares. Apparently, it's quite common.
It is. I was going to say it's quite well known. A lot of people just don't wear them at night.
But wow, that was something else. Really was.
Quite painful.
Yeah, really unpleasant. But yeah, it's strange. I mean, obviously, there's awful lots of work and research done on dreams, and people say it's sort of, well, they say all sorts of things. It's like your inner mind working overtime and ordering the world and so on, and that's fine for sort of a lot of the mainstream type of dreams, I would say. But it's when these nightmares come in, it's like, wow, there's just like my tree dream. What on earth can you make of that? Bugger all. I've never been chased by a tree trunk in my life.
No, but then hollow trees are very magical, aren't they? So
the magic was maybe it was that.
I was very young, when I was about 5 or 6, there was a tree that I used to go and visit, which was a hollow tree that I used to be small enough to climb into.
Yeah.
And I still remember it to this day, just the feeling of being inside this tree.
Yeah.
And just being able to see inside the bark, and and it'd obviously been struck by lightning at some point. That was the thing, but it was still standing because clearly it hadn't completely rotted out. But it was only big enough to take a reasonably small child, so you could hide in there and no one could get you.
Wow. It wasn't my tree chasing. It wasn't you in my tree chasing me, was it?
I doubt it. Wasn't that quick, I don't think. Don't think so. Usually most things in your dream are yourself or some aspect of yourself.
Yeah.
I always find very odd, but even the unpleasant things, it's usually something of yourself.
Yeah. I often used to ponder about that, and I can remember it even now. I can remember it so clearly because I had it so many times, it wasn't just once a month, once a year, it was weekly, several times a week. I'd be like, what? What am I, why am I dreaming this? What does it mean? All I've learned is that I go slightly less close to this thing before I start to run. But yeah, and the whole picnic thing, over the wall into a picnic.
Yeah. Random.
Yeah, just bizarre. But yeah, I have yet to work that one out. I've tried many a time, believe me, but yeah, I've yet to work that out. But I think it's interesting, the whole dream business, very interesting.
It's fascinating. Yeah, I mean, Chris Whippletrick's talking about the sort of dreams that people have, with the communication dreams, which is the one where you're trying to phone somebody or talk to somebody, or you're trying to get a message through and you can't get through. And of course now it's mobiles. The subject of the dream is the same, but the context changes. That the actual mechanics changes because technology changes. But yeah, and you're quite right. Generally, it does mean you need to talk to somebody about something, or what have you. Yeah. Dreams aren't always that obvious, are they? I mean, there's all kinds of weird shit that goes on, and sometimes you just have to roll with it, don't you? But it's funny that it's come back. Maybe it's something that's asking to be re-examined.
Only one occasion mine came back, but yeah, it was just bizarre. I was literally woke up. I was like, well, what on earth was that about? Why have I had that? I've had that dream for 30 odd years. Yeah. Well, 40 odd. Yeah, just madness, really. But who knows? Yeah, I don't know. Well, on that particular note, I'm going to have to sign off because I've got a very early start again. Last
Yeah.
week. So yes, so I would sign off, and we've been, oh God, it's over an hour anyway. You've heard plenty from us. So we'll see you all again next week. Thank you very, very, very much for listening and watching, and for all your comments as well. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. You know the drill: bell button, like, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And thank you in advance. Anyway. Meanwhile, we will take our pigtails. I need pigtails now. I'm quite generous.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm going to go for bunches. There we go. So we're going to take our pigtails and bunches, and we'll say toodle pip. We'll see you next week. Bye.
See you next week. Bye.
See you. Bye.